Good morning. Today I'll be discussing the India-specific developments in the online gaming space. Let's quickly look at the Indian potential insofar as the online gaming space is concerned. The most important aspect for this is the internet penetration. The new Indian government has announced that it will, focus on the broadband revolution in India. With that, we definitely see a growth potential insofar as any internet-based models are concerned. We have already begun to see huge growth in the e-commerce space. Insofar as the gaming is concerned, the gaming laws in India are state specific, and therefore the each state creates its own laws insofar as gaming is concerned. Sikkim is one of the states in India, or the only state in India which actually has come out with the online gaming law, and it has now issued four licenses. One is already issued, and the three are about to be issued. The only challenge there on that is that because it is a state law, we need to see how the other states react if the players in those states play on the website which is operated by the Sikkim licensee. The center, which is the federal government of India, has actually issued a direction that online gaming would have to be restricted to within the state of Sikkim and cannot traverse to other states. With this advisory to be also read with the Information Technology Act, under which the rules have been framed, the rules suggest that the internet service providers are required to block the gambling websites. So on the one hand, you have the state law allowing the online gaming, for example, in the state of Sikkim, and on the other hand, you have the other central law which says that the ISPs are supposed to block the gaming websites. So this is an interesting, spin. We need to examine how it develops. Insofar as the other states are concerned, which have yet not issued any online gambling license, the skill-based games are, outside the purview of the gaming legislations. So suppose you are, conducting an online business which allows the skill-based games to be played and stakes to be accepted on those skill-based games, then such business is permitted in the other states. So you now have rummy, poker, fantasy cricket, fantasy football, or any other fantasy sport that for that matter being actually offered online, and we have begun to see huge growth potential for such businesses. We get inquiries from from such businesses almost twice a week. We get inquiries. Now coming to the skill-based games, what is a settled position is that the skill-based games can be played for stakes. The second settled position is that the service, the online, payment game, online website operators can actually accept service fee in relation to such skill-based games. However, the third issue, which whether the profit can be made by the online website providers, is pending before the Supreme Court of India as we speak. Today is actually the date of hearing. So the Supreme Court is examining whether the online gaming operators can make profit on the skill-based games. Depending upon what the Supreme Court ultimately says, all these operators will have to basically devise their commercial models accordingly, and it will determine whether or not such businesses may or may not be profitable in the Indian context. The other important aspect is the foreign direct investment. Foreign direct investment into the gaming space is prohibited. However, we need to examine whether a foreign direct investment in the business conducting skill-based games can still be allowed, and our view is that should not be construed as gambling, and therefore foreign direct investment in the skill-based games should be allowed. However, recently the Foreign Investment Promotion Board actually rejected the application for foreign direct investment in the company wanting to conduct poker business in India. So there is a little bit of gray area in this particular regard, and we need to examine if poker is construed to be a game of skill, then whether foreign direct investment will be permitted in India. The other challenge for the Indian operators is as follows. The foreign technology collaboration or the trademark licensing in the gaming space is also prohibited. So suppose you have an Indian operator wanting some sort of help from a foreign technology provider, that actually cannot be availed because of the FDI policy, that is foreign direct investment policy prohibits such an arrangement. So within the ambit of this FDI policy, we have begun to see different business models evolving, different structures evolving, where people still are wanting to do business in India. The other important piece is the data protection law. The data protection law in India is evolving now, where suppose you have a foreign website and the foreign website operator actually wants to outsource his backend operations into India, then the Indian entity will have to comply with the data protection law in India, insofar as the storage of the data is concerned, the transfer of the data is concerned, the consents that require to be obtained, etc. So that is one piece that has to be kept in mind. The other is the player protection. We do not have any specific law insofar as player protection is concerned. However, the Indian government is talking about consumer protection in the context of e-commerce businesses. So, online gaming space is likely to fall within that ambit, and we need to see how the law develops in that particular regard. Now let us examine whether a foreign operator can accept Indian players. In practice, we know that Indian players do play on the foreign websites. Those foreign websites don't have presence in India as such, it's only the online presence. The issue here is that the Indian players are not allowed to remit funds outside of India for the gambling purposes. So technically what they are doing is not within the purview of the law, but whether a foreign website operator can be prosecuted in India is something we are yet to see. However, the other compliance issue that arises is that under the new Companies Act, which just came into force, there are certain definitions of foreign company, and one of them is that the foreign company establishing business in India by way of e-commerce, they are required to carry out certain compliances in India. So if they do certain filings in India, that means they are in a way establishing some locus within India, and therefore they may get under the purview of the Indian law or not. That is one position that we need to examine, and there is no yet jurisprudence developed on that. The next issue would be of the foreign payment gateway operators. They also cannot provide services of the payment gateway to the Indian websites unless and until they establish local presence. We had one issue, for example, Uber faced an issue in India because they were accepting payments from the Indian operators for cab services, Indian consumers for cab services, and they were not in compliance with the Indian law. The other interesting thing is the Bitcoin or any virtual currency. The Indian Reserve Bank of India has issued an advisory that though they have not said that the Bitcoins or virtual currencies are illegal, they have issued an advisory that those should be traded with caution. We have begun to see a lot of interest in the Bitcoin space in India as well, which also will affect in a way the manner in which the gaming websites operate. Now, lastly, just on the development on the sports betting, FICCI, which is one of the industry organization, is pushing, for making it legal. If sports betting is made legal in India, then that is one more business model that will develop in the Indian context. So these are some of the developments from India. Happy to take questions of Sky, and thank you very much.